Alright.
Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to Cat King. Today I have Siddhant with me, and this is Anisha here. People who are coming on board for the first time. We are going to be making you guys meet all the toppers, people who are giving Ahmedabad, Calcutta interviews, so that you guys can learn from their experiences and start preparing yourself up for the same. So, congratulations, Siddhant, on getting a
So
99.8 percentile. And tell me the first most thing when you got the Ahmedabad call. What was the feeling?
it was just a feeling that I have the opportunity to give this great interview because other interviews are just the same, like all are at this level, but particularly Ahmedabad interviews at this like experience that you will won't ever have in your life. The questions, the kind of questions they ask, all are technical, all are related to the common sense that a person should have.
Mm.
All the things they check your confidence level, your care about your goals. It's a very fine interview. Like the interviewer is actually interested in you. They want to spend some time with you and want to learn about you. They try to grasp so much information that you might not have even thought before the interview. In the interview, you realize, oh, this was also something that I had in my childhood and could have shared earlier, but they just take out information from. That's the beauty about Ahmedabad interview.
Wow, that's so interesting. So, how long, Siddhant, was your interview? And considering you're a fresher, so, do you think you had a shorter interview, or
Yeah,
do you think they did spend good 20, 30 minutes with you?
I think Ahmedabad is an institute. They don't care about from which background you are, or whatever work ex you have. You may have 2 years, 3 years, or maybe you're fresher. They just want to see the person throughout, inside out. Like they want all the information. They don't consider like you have this much percentile. Even psychology students have interviews till 30 or 40 minutes of length. So they are interested in the person, whatever field it may be. Because my profile is the most common profile of all, like computer science engineer fresher. Like so many people are this there even in the waiting room. I had 6, 7 people of the same profile going before me, going after me. So, but they don't differentiate in that way. I had a 30-minute long interview. It was majorly breakdown into three parts, if I say,
Hmm.
10 minutes of each. The first 10 minutes was my academics,
Okay.
where I was asked about. But special thing about Ahmedabad is they are academic focused.
Hmm.
Like they have that rigor and they actually are interested in that. I got to see this in my interview. They asked me, I had written the CGPA till sixth semester. So they asked me, what was your CGPA in seventh?
Hmm.
Like they are curious about it.
Hmm.
Like I have improved or I have failed or what kind of things I have, what kind of trend I have shown.
Correct.
So I had luckily 9.5.
Wow.
I had never crossed 9 in my all the 6 semesters. So 7th sem was the best of it.
Yes.
So they were actually impressed. So actually, I had that semester in my pandemic year. That was the
Hmm.
pandemic year, and there was continuous evaluation. So, like all the people had a 9 above CGPA. So, I think I got lucky in that way. So they asked me like, you have must have these subjects as your favorites.
Hmm.
You must be loving these subjects. That's why you have scored this much. So I had to come out in there that I had not studied those subjects that
Oh.
thoroughly that I could answer their questions. I had not even prepared those subjects because obviously they are not on the mark sheet that I've given them. So why would I prepare?
Hmm.
So even like I just got the goosebumps that please don't ask from these subjects. So I came out clean that it was just because of the pandemic. I had scored this much CGPA, and okay, so they said, what all favorite subjects you have? I said data structures and algorithms, and and it was quite surprising for me that they didn't even ask a simple question. Like they never start from a simple basic question. They always go into depth and start from there.
Okay.
So like some computer science engineers who are watching this, they can relate. He asked me the first question was, what is the difference between minimum spanning tree and shortest path algorithms?
Oh.
So this was something that is asked in a software developer interview.
Yeah.
They want to know these kind of things. So he went further with what is Dice's algorithm and when does this algorithm does not work. So that was surprising for me that they asked these kind of questions, and luckily I had prepared that subject. I had seen all the videos that were available on YouTube, like, and all from my all the sources. I was thoroughly prepared, so I was able to answer even these exceptional answers, the questions that some exceptions in the subject. So the interview majorly revolved around that, around these algorithms only, and I could answer 80% of the questions. So the 20% part was somewhat unorthodox. Like they wanted me to go in depth at that point of time and think aloud, like, what are you thinking now when this algorithm won't work, or why this is much preferred than the others. These kind of questions were there, much more technical. So, like they were satisfied with my answers, but they wanted me to go more deep and think right there. Like they didn't want the whatever knowledge you have gained, just come out and give it all up. No, they wanted me to think at that very moment. So it was kind of a pressure situation, but I was able to deal with that. So this was the first 10 minutes. The next 10 minutes was basically the HR questions. They wanted to know where do I had went places in my childhood, what all vacation spots that I had covered. They asked me, I listed them 11, 12 spots, and they said, are you missing anyone? I thought like, okay, I will cover this too. I'll cover this too. So I said, I've listed Ahmedabad in my childhood, but I had the blur memory. So they got excited, obviously, because they wanted to now ask questions about Ahmedabad. But I had prepared for those questions, but I still stay clear from those questions because I said that it was very much a childhood. Like I went till fourth, fifth standard, so I don't remember. So they said, okay, that's fine. So they asked me, do you go out with your friends? I said, I had gone one or two trips, but not much. My father restricted me from doing so. So now this was a wake up call from me. Like that I had put on the wrong step here, and they will push me up. And the next 7, 8 minutes were on this only, that why did your father did not allow you to go? And and you traveled places very much, like uh, compared to an average child. I'd gone to very many. I'd gone to so much vacations. Like no other person goes that much with my family only. So that was the question. Like he does not trust you. They put all these kind of questions, negative questions. Like you have to cope up from them. So like I was able to defend myself because I knew that my father taught me like all the negative things that can happen when you go out with your friends. Because many incidents we have seen, like when we go out with friends, we just let loose ourselves, and and in hilly areas also some mishap can happen. So those kind of things. So I was able to cover those, but they were still like they were like, Siddhant, can we trust you with some big decisions when you go into company? You will be taking the decision. Your father won't be there. So these kind of like hard questions were also put on me. But at that moment, you just have to handle the pressure. They try to create situations where you get uncomfortable. But I was fine with it. So now around 20 to 23 minutes were over with the interview, and they came on to my profile, and in my profile I would like to play badminton and watch football. So these two topics were there. So they didn't then start asking the normal simple questions. They started with, what is the role of height in football? Like how can a tall person be advantageous compared to a shorter person, and how a shorter person deals with it. So there was a concept of center of gravity. I told about it, and they asked me particularly which tall person football players were famous. So I had to name some goalkeepers, some midfielders around on the in the era of 2000s, and particularly Ronaldo, like we all know about that. So then they asked me about the shorter players who were famous, and because I said they can dribble easily, their center of gravity is low. These kind of questions were asked like 3, 4 minutes on this football area. Next, again in badminton, they asked me the same concept, like what is the use of height in badminton? What is the role of height? A shorter person or a taller person, which is better? But in badminton, average height is the best. approach, because a shorter person won't be able to pick up the toss that comes on, and taller person won't be able to pick up the drops because he has to bend that much. That's why. So all these kind of questions were put on the famous players of India before 2000. That was the trick question, because like I know the youngsters, but I didn't know the previous one. So I had the Gopi Chand in my mind and Rakesh, Prakash Padukone, I think, not Rakesh. Yeah, so he was there. Like 3, 4 players I knew. I told them, so they were like, okay, at least he has some knowledge and he has some, like he has some, he has prepared particularly about that topic. Like they want to know about your preparation, like even you know about this topic or not. So these kind of questions was asked, and I think that was an app. This was the interview. So it covered all the aspects. Like I said earlier, like I said, like 5 aspects are there. So they covered all of it. Like in 3 parts, the interview was broken, and interview was shuffling. Like it was not like one interview was asking, then the other one. They like one jumped in between. They were having their chai samosa that they usually have, and it was a great experience because the thing is, when you go for an Ahmedabad interview, they had this interview offline. Like it was an online interview, but you had to go to the center where other candidates would also be there. You had to write a AWT, and AWT, yeah, about AWT is a very important component in Ahmedabad interview. I had the topic that India has so many boards, like in like CBSE, state boards we have, ICSE we have. So that is disturbing the composure of the Indian education system, and there should be a common board so that everyone gets a quality education. And you have to negate this statement. You had to build up some points that you have to negate the situation. So it was an easy topic. I was able to cover it. You had a timer of 20 minutes, a big screen. They had the old clock attached to the laptop, and you had the timer on you, and it was a normal topic. The best part was I had my fifth number in the interview. So till then, 20 people were sitting in the waiting room, and initial 10 minutes were very quiet. Like people were not opening up. They were composed that first we have to do the interview, then we will see. I don't want to talk to anyone. But slowly and steadily, everyone started speaking out. Anxieties were relaxed, and people just talk to each other. I met 200-300 percentiles there. So it was like the standard of people there in the Ahmedabad interview room was very high. Like for me, it was very high because those people were from IITs, and always BTU has been a like just a down step from them. So, but I was able to sit there and compete with those people. So it was proud moment for me that I'm sitting with these people. I have the same ideology. I have the same level. I can assure a seat just next to them. So I think that was my whole and the one experience.
Lovely. It was an amazing experience, and I'm so glad to have you on board to share this insights. Like, breaking down into it, what all to prepare and how to understand. This is surely going to be really helpful for all the other engineers out there, and know yourself and your concepts really well. I mean, expecting questions so deep into the algorithms, that's amazing. So I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for all of us. And thank you so much, Siddhant, and wish you all the best ahead.
Thank you so much.